Now we're good.
All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Some were slower. All right, public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Meetings Act has been given by the Township Council in the following manner: notifying the Township Clerk December 27, 2024, mailing notice to the Carrier Post Central Record Burlington County Times December 27, 2024, and posting notice of the official municipal bulletin board on December 27, 2024. Anyone from the public wishing to speak will be permitted to address comments to the council during public participation portions only. Please place all phones on mute to alleviate the disruption of the meeting. Roll call, Terry.
Mr. Kaufman? Ms. Nunes?
Here.
Mr. Simonsick?
Here.
Mr. Zaradnik?
Here.
Mayor Talarico?
Here.
Mayor, if we could just have the record reflect that Councilman Kaufman did call in and say that he wasn't able to make it tonight.
Okay, thank you. This is the Open Board of Health meeting.
Thank you. For the month of April, we had 2 sanitary conditions reported. One was a hoarding. Cleanup is ongoing. The occupant is undergoing counseling, and monitoring will continue by the county. And there was also a cleanup of one complete cleanup of a property, and that is completed and closed out. We had 3 dog bites. One was a routine vet exam, and the vet was bitten. Another one was the neighbor was bitten by the dog, and then the third bite was just a playful bite to the owner of the owner. We had a complaint of dog waste. Neighboring property failed to clean up the dog waste. The county went out, has been working with the resident, and that has been abated. So there were 6 claims altogether, but again, either ongoing or abated.
Thank you. Motion to close?
I'll make that motion.
What do I have to say, public?
Public portion.
Anybody from the public portion have anything on the Board of Health meeting? Seeing none, motion to close?
So made.
I'll second.
Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn? Anyone?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. This is the public portion for the consent agenda items only. If anybody wishing to speak on the consent agenda, please come up, state your name and address for the record. All right, seeing none, motion to close?
So made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, this is the consent agenda. We're going to do resolution number 2025-R-94 through resolution number 2025-R-101. Motion to approve the consent agenda?
So made.
You got a second. I'll second, but
I gotta stay out of it.
And then comments, and then you have comment, Andrew? Or?
Yes, I have a comment.
Okay.
Resolution 2025 R99. I'll be refraining from that.
Okay, anybody else? Roll call?
Ms. Nunes?
Yes.
Mr. Simonsick?
Yes.
Mr. Zaradnik?
yes.
Zaradnik? Mayor Talarico?
Yes. All right, approval of the expenditure list?
Thank you. Current fund bill list is $4,616,102.54. Utility fund bill list is $372,916.73. Capital fund bill list is $11,143.44. Utility capital is $34,519.84. Our trust fund is $16,471.11, and our grant fund is $700.32. Just to make note that the current fund, $1.7 million of that 4.6 is for our pension payment that needs to be made, and $2.6 million of it is the school tax payment, so that comes out to just a little over $4.3 million of the 4.6 in those 2 payments. I have reviewed the above bill list as submitted and recommend payment when funds are available.
Okay, thank you. Motion to approve?
So made.
I'll second.
Comments? Roll call?
Ms. Nunes?
Yes.
Mr. Simonsick?
Yes.
Mr. Zaradnik?
Yes.
Mayor Talarico?
Yes. Approval of the April 2025 minutes. We have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Comments? Roll call?
Ms. Nunes?
Yes.
Mr. Simonsick?
Yes.
Mr. Zaradnik?
Yes.
Mayor Talarico?
Yes. All right, this is the public portion. If anybody from the public wish to address council, please come up, state your name and address for the record.
Yep.
Andrew Simonsick Jr., 17 Overbrook Ave, Maple Shade. I just want to hand this out to you guys real quick. Should have enough for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a stretch.
You just give me both, I'll just hand you.
Okay, that works. Thanks.
Thanks.
So as you all have seen for the past several days, I've had communications back and forth with the council as well as Manager Danson in reference to the appointment of the officers for the Maple Shade Fire Department, i.e. the deputy and captain. To be honest with you, I couldn't go back and forth anymore with email. As you see in the pamphlets, there's two different threads of emails that have gone back and forth. I believe most of you to have been on most of those emails back and forth, but in case you weren't, there's copies provided for you. My main concern in all of this is that we currently are operating with myself as the chief and a lieutenant, Timmy Miller. For a command structure for a fire department, that is not fit to continue. And as you are all well aware of the two neighboring departments that have dissolved themselves from helping with any service calls to this town, there's a lot of decisions that have to be made in a quick manner to start to figure this out and resolve these issues. To do that, a proper command staff needs to be in place, and it needs to be in place fairly quickly for me to make these decisions for the life safety of this town. As the chief of the fire department, I'm coming to you now to discuss this matter, to just prove a couple facts to you guys about this interview process that keeps being thrown in here. I served as the deputy chief for the last year for the same department. I was never interviewed by the township for that position. Lieutenant Miller has served for the last year for the same department, was never interviewed formally for that position. Greg Taylor served for 3 months as the captain of that department, never interviewed. And for this current role as chief, I never formally had an interview. So for the fact of an interview being thrown around for a deputy chief and a captain position that are volunteer, I find it insane that this process is going on when we've so many times done this over with not only myself but other members of this department. I'm not requesting this because I want it done for a title change. I'm doing this so that way we can progress forward and move forward in a quick manner. So I'm coming to the council tonight with all of these facts. It was specifically stated by Manager Danson in an email to me in the second pamphlet on the third page, number 2, about the town ordinance of 2023-12, which governs our current structure. Section 16-4 states the township manager shall appoint the fire chief, deputy fire chief, battalion chief, fire marshal, fire inspectors, and all other line and engineering officers. Said appointments shall be made on January 1st of each year and formally recommended by Independent Fire Company number 1. Nowhere in there is anything about an interview process for those roles, and as far as I'm concerned, the roles that have been filled in the past year and a half have not had interviews either. So for this to all of a sudden come about, I'm not sure why, but I would like the opinion of the council in this matter to try to resolve this in a quick and fluent manner so we can move on with the progress of this fire department.
So I have the first question. Why wasn't I copied on these emails?
Because your
Now,
son...
now, I want to know who made the decision and who left me out. They're simple questions and simple
I'm answering
answers.
them.
So go
I
ahead.
made the decision, as your son is the chief of the fire department.
Well,
That's
all
number
right,
one.
Stop,
But I
please,
would-
stop right there. My son was made the chief of the fire department without me being involved in that. Now that he is the chief of the fire department, as a council member, I have the right to participate in all that. So if anyone in front of me right now wants to say that there's a conflict of interest, there's going to be a problem. I'm stating right now in public, and it's being recorded, there is absolutely none, no conflict of interest for any of this. And all these games and charades are going to start ending tonight. I am tired of it. You serve at the pleasure of council, and everyone in this building does. And somehow or another, it's going to get rectified. But we've done absolutely nothing since I came on council, and it ends tonight. I am going to start being involved, and I am going to start doing what I need to do, what I promised the people of this town. And you are playing games with everything, words and everything else. And just so you know, that email that you sent me under new business, I'm going to go through every one of those points and clarifying. I'm done with the games. I'm done with the charades. I'm done with dragging things on. All it's doing is costing this township money, and it's dragging it down. And tonight is the end for me. I've reached my limit. It's over.
Well, Mr. Simonsek, I will tell you that I have reached my limit with you treating me
Good.
this way in
Then you
public
have
forum.
a choice.
However,
I'm here
to
for
answer
4 years.
To answer Chief
You-
Simonsek's question,
You have
he
to
was
let her
not
speak.
he was not interviewed because Judge Fickery appointed him as that position. I will tell you that both your captain and Tim Miller were both spoken to by Dan Kerr at the time, the chief that was put in place. He sat with them.
Yep.
My email to you today, that came from you today, I responded immediately to you,
Yep.
in which you told me that you would like to appoint those two.
Yep.
We had agreed on what the process was going to be. I also said...
I did not agree with it.
Yes, we did.
No,
You
I
sat
did
in my
not.
office on Monday, and we
I did
discussed
not
about
agree
having...
to it. I said
We
that
agreed
that
to
was
have
it.
an interview process. As the personnel manager for the municipality, I have no problem. All I want to do is I want to have the ability to sit down with the people that you are suggesting to put in there and have a conversation with them. I would be happy to have that. And I said to you...
Can I make a point real quick?
When
before
I'm
we
done,
go
you
first?
can, yes.
Okay.
And I said to you, if your recommendation would like to bring his information to me, get it to me, we'll sit down early next week.
Why was my information never requested from you? Show me my
Because
resume.
because you were appointed by the judge, not by the municipality.
Not for the position that you just resolved in this tonight. You just made
I
me the
met
chief
with
of the
you.
fire department. You
Did
met
I
with
not
me.
meet
Did
with
you
you?
interview me?
I did interview you
No,
with
you
Chief
did not.
Kerr. I certainly
You
did.
formally said in that interview that it was an informal thing and that it was not an interview
You're
because
correct.
Dan
It's the
was
same,
there.
and it's going to be the same thing, Andrew.
I'm
However, I am
disagreeing
the-
with you fully. And
You are
Dan-
welcome
and-
to
and
disagree
for
with me.
your
That's
exact,
fine.
For your exact point that you allowed Dan Kerr to just appoint Lieutenant Miller
He
a
didn't
year
just
ago.
appoint Lieutenant Miller.
He did the same thing that I just did, and he got no
He
backlash
did-
of wanting
he-
an interview
he
process.
100% did, and
Then
if he
why
was
was
here,
it different
he-
a year ago, Susan?
It was not different a year ago.
It was.
It
I was the
not
deputy chief, and
different.
I was involved in that because I was
You
the
were
one that
not.
broke the news to Lieutenant Miller and recommended that Lieutenant Miller was in that position, not Dan Kerr.
Well,
I
Dan
did.
Kerr and I had a full conversation. You
So
were not in
again,
those
back to the
conversations.
council, I would like your opinion on this matter. You have all the facts in front of you that the ordinance does not state that an interview process is needed. Can we move forward with these appointments so that way the Maple Shade Fire Department can progress and move forward?
So let me ask you a question. Right now, what's the command staff?
Myself as the chief and one lieutenant, Timothy Miller. That is it.
Okay.
There's no other
So
structure.
command staff has to be appointed immediately, and that's the way they get their power and authority and to cover liability issue.
That's your personal opinion.
No, that's the law.
No, it's not.
It's
State
the
of
law.
New
It is
Jersey.
not.
The state of New
It's
Jersey.
the state
All
of
I
New
have
Jersey.
asked-
So
all I have
wait,
asked-
before we
no,
go
all
for
I
any
have
further,
asked- all I
I
have
know
asked is to
everything
sit
about the
down.
fire department inside and out
Mr.
and how it
Simonson,
works.
all
No,
I
please,
have
I am
asked-
speaking, and with all due respect, you need to be quiet when I'm speaking to you, okay? I know how it works. All the certifications and all this stuff with Don Nelson and you and Dan and Joe Palumbo
Ms.
was a
McDowell, I would
charade.
ask, this is part of the
No.
litigation, I would ask that you ask me to
Listen,
refrain from talking
the
about
whole
this.
thing, no, this is, I'm
Ms.
talking to
McDowell,
you.
Shut
I will
down.
ask-
This should be
I
shut
would
down.
ask you, that's
all
all
right.
part of the litigation. Thank you.
You should
The
be
point
involved in
being
this.
is, there's a process in place for this state. And you can't just tell somebody they can get on a truck and that they can just fill in and do that without them being certified. That was your whole thing about getting certifications that started all this. And if you want to deny that, you go right ahead. All right? That's the way it has to be. And right now, there is no one in this town taking care of it. All the things that happened has put this town way behind. They went from maybe 36 calls being scratched that Lanola took care of to over 100 with your fire department and Dan Kerr in charge because of all the games that are being played. This township right now has an opportunity to straighten things out and start getting things back in place for the protection of the people that live in this town. And my goal is so that we have that protection and we have it at a minimal cost, because all this stuff that's going on in this town with the fire departments has taken Cherry Hill and Mount Laurel 30 years to evolve to get where they're at now, because I've seen it. I've been there for the whole journey. So for us to want to shove down the taxpayer's throat a completely operational fire department when all we needed to do was what we suggested to you 3.5 years ago at a meeting was a stipend program, because we all realized that there was an issue during the day
I
sometimes.
think you're getting off topic. Hold on
No,
a second.
I'm not.
I have a question.
Yes.
Andrew,
So before you were appointed chief, how many did we have? We had Kerr, you, and Tim Miller?
Correct.
Okay, so we only lost Kerr?
We lost
We
one
lost
position
Kara.
technically.
You got moved into that.
There was the captain's position that was also appointed, that
Right.
was removed from that person.
For a year
and
ago? About?
9 months, I would say.
Okay, so for 9 months, we
Which
did not
I
have
had
that.
asked Chief Kerr several times to refill that position to help, and he refused to because he didn't feel there was a good fit in the department for that position.
Okay,
The
So
scope of-
with,
okay, can you let him finish?
with,
please?
Yeah, go ahead.
with the way the command structure has ran in this town, I'm not saying it has to go back to the way it was, there was a minimum of 5 officers. I'm asking for the appointment of one other chief officer to have my back and lead us through this, what's going to be a brutal process, trying to fix all of the problems in this town, to be completely honest with you guys. As you know, the 2 neighboring departments that have sent those letters, there's a lot that I have to do to start to fix that, and I cannot do it by myself. I need a command structure. And if you want to tell the residents that we're going to wait till the end of May to figure this out, be my guest, but I do
didn't
not want
say
to be
we
a part
would
of
wait
that.
till
You don't have
Susan,
the
there was
span
a
of
date that was
control.
the May
On the
30th.
posting there was, but
I
I
understand
explained
that
that
you said
to
it could be
Andrew.
sooner than that,
And
but it's a
all I'm
latest date
asking
of
for-
that.
So
And I understand, all I'm asking
I
for-
believe all we want, and I don't want to speak for all council, is just an opportunity to see who is qualified or certified, and I might not say they're
And-
certified.
And as you can see in these emails, I sat down with several people, not just members of the IFC,
Okay.
several other individuals from the Township's fire department as well as the IFC, and there was only one that was interested in the deputy chief's position. That is who is
Alex.
listed in these emails.
Okay.
Same thing with the captain's position.
Okay.
Unfortunately, there's no one else that, 1, is qualified with the certifications to do it, or 2, wants to do it right now.
Okay.
You
And
have
all I
no
have
span
asked
of
is-
control when
and
it
all I
comes
have
to
asked-
calls.
And all I have asked is for the respect to sit down with
Right.
Chief's,
Okay.
his recommendation. That's
have
all
an
I've
interview.
asked. And have,
But
not,
it was
just
okay,
have a
it was okay
conversation.
for this to occur when Dan Kerr was chief, to appoint people
It was
without
not
sitting
okay.
down.
We-
Lieutenant
Let's-
Miller never sat
Andrew,
down with you, Ms.
Andrew, let's-
Benson.
Andrew, let's not go
I'm not
backwards,
gonna.
let's move forward.
I agree.
Thank you for coming up. We will talk about this as council, and I promise you it won't be till the end of May.
Well,
Okay? It might be a week or two, but, I mean, we're not
I'm
going
gonna
to
make a
To-
motion
we're not gonna
right
make a
now.
To be
decision
honest
right
with
now.
you, this department cannot wait till the end of May, and I cannot
Okay.
move forward without a command structure in this
And I
town.
did tell you
That's
today
fine.
that it would not be the end of May. I could sit down with him as early
That's
as
fine,
next
and
week.
instead of fighting back and forth, let's just move
The one
forward.
thing I want to be said tonight is the interview process that keeps getting thrown around. There's
Okay.
nothing in the ordinance that says that needs to occur. Nothing.
Okay.
I'm not
And it
being-
has not occurred in the past year and a half.
Okay.
No position
correct.
was done that way.
Will your recommendation sit down with me early next week? Interview or not, we can call it a conversation, the
I
same
don't
thing that
know,
I
because
told.
I still have not posted it, because I do not agree with the terms, to be completely honest with you, of May 30th. That's
Well,
why I
I would
waited
like
till
to
this
sit down
evening
with
to
your
do that.
with your recommended command staff. I would like to sit down with them. That's all. The one that you're recommending for deputy chief. That's
Okay.
what I'm asking for. That's what I asked for you this
You
afternoon.
asked for a full resume, a full
You're
interview
right.
process,
That was part of
and
it because it
everything.
is part of the posting.
Then
However,
why
I
was it
said,
not done for any other position, Susan? That's my whole
because
thing.
you and Chief Kerr were appointed by the court, not by the municipality.
And Lieutenant
Until-
Miller wasn't?
Lieutenant-
He wasn't.
We're not appointing Lieutenant Miller.
But it happened so many times, again and again and again, without an interview process. All of a sudden, I'm the chief,
The
and now we're
the
struggling to
captain
get through
did
this.
sit down with Dan Kerr.
And Andrew,
He
even if
present
you're a deputy
everything.
chief and you're an employee somewhere and you get a promotion, you don't have a whole full new interview. You sit down, you see what, what your job is to move forward.
I understand that for
It's not a
myself
whole-
specifically, yes, I do
I retain the
understand that
right for the
process,
deputy
yes.
chief to sit down with them and speak with them.
I'm going to refer to the council for
So-
what you want to move forward on at this point, and I'm going to let you make that decision, but I want to make a public record now that I do not want to be held accountable when stuff starts to hit the fan in the coming couple weeks, and I cannot make decisions or go to chiefs meetings and have an individual that is a chief in this department to have my back to represent this town. That is what I want this to be
I said that I would meet with you
fully
as
on.
early as next week, and the next appointment would be at May 22nd's meeting. That's the earliest that we would even be able to do a resolution. However, I would sit with you early next week.
It
Tell me
says
what
in the
day.
ordinance, under the recommendation of the chief of the IFC. That's what it says. So why are we having this conversation? It
Because
should
I
be a
would
done
like to
deal.
sit down with the recommended individual, because that recommended individual.
What do you know about their qualifications?
It has
to know if
nothing
they
to do,
are or
as I
aren't?
told Chief Simonsek, I want to make sure that we are all aligned, all of us. I know that he's aligned with Chief Simonsek, but I also want him to be aligned with what the municipality wants and what I expect. Because as I said to Chief Simonsek, that in his absence, that is the person that is going to be contacting me and working with me. It is no differently than what I do in the police department. When the police department comes through, I sit down with the individuals that they're looking to hire.
You just
Same
made a
exact thing.
comment what you expect. What about what we expect out here?
But I'm
Because
here-
I expect a lot of other things. And right now, the professional that's sitting on this council is me. I've lived it my whole entire life, and I know it inside and out, and I've been abused by it and that's why I'm here. So I want to know why you need to look at qualifications when a professional certified person is making the recommendations.
Because my name's going on the appointment.
Well, then you should trust that person and not micromanage
I do, but I
them.
still want to sit down with the person.
This is ridiculous. There's no span of control in that department. It's all liability issues, and the more that we leave this go and don't get it done, the liability comes back to this council.
Okay.
And I know that, and I'm not going to allow it.
Since this is the public portion, we're going to move on. Does anybody else from the public wish to come up? You're done, right? Sorry.
That's where we're ending it?
Well, we have, this is the public portion, so we would discuss it under a different area.
New business.
New business, whatever. Council comments.
All right, I'm a nobody. I've been in the fire department almost 20 years.
What's your name and address?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike Stevens, 47 Cherry Avenue. Alec Fleming, who they want for deputy, has been doing that job on the firehouse time and on his own time. He brings his kids up just so he can do the job. He's very, very intelligent. He's very, very knowledgeable. And he has all kind of certifications. And he is and will be a great help to our chief.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you. Anybody else from the public?
Deborah Simon, 617 Overbrook. I have two questions. What makes you proficient at deciding about this fire department? I just want to know what your skill set is.
I am proficient in finding leadership. That is what I'm trying to do. I want to make sure that the person that is going to be the next in command, I'm sure that the person that we are talking about, and I need to remind council that there should be no names because he would be an employee and there has been no rights notice, that the person that we are speaking about is qualified. I also want to remind everyone that on 2 separate occasions we have offered this person a portion to be employed. Absolutely, and I agree with that. And I think that is also why it's important to make sure that there is some sort of sit-down with this person, to make sure, again, that we are all on the same page so that when Chief Simonsek is out of town, I know that this person will be on the same page as Chief Simonsek, that we are all working together, that everything gets left aside. And I think that I owe that to the residents, I owe that to the staff here, and I owe it to the fire department as well.
Next question. You mentioned you do it at the police station. You meet with every officer?
I
Before
meet
he's
with,
hired?
the ones that we are promoting, I do sit down and I have.
Before they were hired.
No, well,
Well, you're hiring somebody.
yeah, so before they're hired, yes, before I write my letter offering them a offer of employment, I sit down with them. Whether they be a SLEO, whether they be whether they are a patrol officer, whether it is a promotion, I meet with them. Did it as recently as the sergeants that were just, I interviewed, sat down with every single candidate.
How about EMT?
EMT, we don't. EMT is not our department. They are an outside agency.
They deal with Maple Shade.
They are an
residents.
outside agency, and we do not offer, I have no regulation. There is nothing that allows me that or affords me that opportunity to appoint them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? All right, seeing none. I guess we have a motion to close? Anybody?
So made.
Anybody second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, staff and professional comments? Deputy Mayor Zarenick, we'll start with you.
I just have a couple questions. Just a couple questions. I think Chief Simonsek touched on the one question about where we are at with these emails and letters that were
Which ones?
about the 2 townships pulling out. Susan, you'll fill us in on that?
Yes, so those both were shared with Chief Simonsek, and the last communication that we had is that he would be working on it on his end. And of course, that all comes
Which
back.
led us to where we're...
That led us to where we are right now.
Right.
Yes.
Before I... Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers that are going to... and who it applies to. I also want to bring up one more point. During the public portion of the meeting, and I could be totally wrong, but the residents should be addressing council. Am I right with that, Ellen?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So in the future, if the residents would address us rather than we'll take care of it to Susan and the solicitor. That's all I have.
Go ahead.
Me?
Sure.
I just heard the scream out there. So Chief, you're up.
Well, I've been quiet up until now. I haven't really made statements when it comes to professional and staff comments. But in my opinion, nothing has gotten done in this township since we got here. Now, maybe other people feel differently, I don't know. However, I don't. I look at the things that we ran on as a group of people, and I just want the people of this township to know that moving forward, I'm going to be bringing them things up. I'm not going to be sitting around anymore, and I'm not going to be taking the abuse that I've been taking from this building. So I just want the people of the township to know that I'm one vote, that I'm going to do my best. I'm not going anywhere, and I'm going to deliver on my word what the things that I said that I was going to do for you. Now, whether that happens or not, I don't know, because I am only one vote, but I'm just letting everybody know.
Okay. Is that all?
That's it.
Randy?
Hopefully, with the Pope being appointed, the U.S. Pope, American Pope, maybe it'll have us all have some peace in our lives, and let's get a chance to work together and get everything done. That's all I have.
Karen?
No, ma'am.
Susan?
No, I'll hold mine.
Ellen?
No, thanks.
All right, the only thing I have is we have 2 fundraisers tomorrow night. If anyone's looking for something to do on a Friday, with Maple Shade Soccer is having their annual basket auction, and Maple Shade Girls Softball has their guest bartending event at the Alden. That's all I have. I hope everyone has a great Mother's Day. Moving over to old business, operations.
Thank you. On Monday, the township completed the replacement of a sewer force main pipe at the intersection of Fork Landing and Broadway. During that project, crews identified significant deterioration in a nearby storm sewer pipe with damage to both the top and bottom that is affecting water flow. The area was made safe and temporarily plated to maintain roadway stability. A follow-up project will be scheduled to fully address the issue, which will include cleaning the storm pipe, installing a manhole, and running new PVC piping through the existing segment beneath Fork Landing Road. I'll provide updates, obviously, as plans and timelines are finalized with the engineers. Fireworks, there was some question about fireworks. They are scheduled for June 28th this year at the high school. There was an issue or a mistake in our newsletter which showed that the parade starts at 11. It does not. It starts at 12. And that has been updated on our website as well. Today, the township had the pleasure of welcoming 20 students from Maple Shade High School for our Students in Government Day. The students spent the day exploring the various municipal departments and concluded with a mock council meeting to experience local governance firsthand. Special thanks to all of our departments that participated, and especially to Jennifer Nixon, our Business and Economic Development Director, for organizing this meaningful event. Engaging students in municipal government provides meaningful education experiences while also fostering civic awareness and an interest in public service, qualities that are essential to the long-term economic stability and sustainability of local government. And I would like to take a few minutes to address some recent concerns that have been raised regarding the preparation of our ordinances and resolutions and the role that both myself and the township clerk play in that process. Specifically, it was suggested that we may not be following proper procedure and that we lack an understanding of municipal operations, and more concerningly, that I have not told the truth. While I fully support council's right to ask questions and seek clarity, it's important to remember that Maple Shade operates under the Faulkner Act, specifically the council manager form of government. Under this structure, the roles of the governing body and administration are clearly defined by state statute. The council is responsible for setting policy, adopting legislation, and approving the municipal budget. Administrative matters, including the preparation and implementation of ordinances, resolutions, contracts, and day-to-day operations, fall under the responsibility of the township manager, who serves as the chief executive and administrative officer of the municipality. The township clerk's duties are also defined by statute and include maintaining official records, certifying actions of the governing body, and facilitating our public meetings. I do want to be very clear Every ordinance and resolution introduced to this governing body has either been prepared by legal counsel, reviewed by legal counsel, or based on a long-standing municipal template that have been previously adopted and affirmed by this township, a practice that is also common across many municipal bodies across the state and country. Nothing is drafted in a vacuum, nor are actions taken outside of established legal and administrative protocol. The clerk and I take our responsibilities seriously, and we are diligent in ensuring that everything that comes before this council is properly vetted and documented. To suggest that either the clerk or I are acting outside of our responsibilities or without knowledge of procedure is not only inaccurate, but it risks undermining the very structure that the Faulkner Act is designed to protect. If there are specific procedural questions or concerns, I truly welcome an open and respectful discussion so that we can address them all together. I'm always open to questions and transparency, but I will not allow unfounded accusations to go unaddressed. We all share the goal of responsible governance. I know I speak for the clerk as well when I say we remain committed to transparency, professionalism, and ensuring that both the council and the public receive accurate and lawful information and support. If there are procedural concerns, I am respectfully asking for direct and respectful dialogue so that we may work together constructively. However, casting doubt on the professionalism and integrity of the municipal staff without basis is counterproductive and undermines the trust and collaboration required to serve our community effectively. Thank you.
Thank you. Police report.
Sure. All right, thank you, Mayor. I'm going to cover two back-to-back incidents, and I'm going to talk about what happened at the football carnival, and I'll wrap up with just a brief on our Bring Your Kid to Work Day.
Thank you.
All right, but because they're lengthy, I'm just going to read them just to try to be as expeditious as possible. On Tuesday, April 15th, in the morning hours, patrol officers were dispatched to the 100 block of Gardenia Drive for a woman being held against her will and in danger due to an armed subject described as her former boyfriend. After verifying fact with the caller on the matter, officers triggered the new Attorney General directive on barricaded subjects, while our patrol officers and detectives secured the area and attempted to make contact at the door. Thankfully, the victim opened the door and officers were able to quickly secure her as the suspect fled to the second floor area. In plain view were edged weapons and lighter fluid. During this time, we began assembling our team, including Maple Shade Police Standing Upper Command Post, the New Jersey State Police Team Unit, and the Office of Emergency Management, the Berlin County Prosecutor's Office, the Maple Shade Fire Department, the Maple Shade First Aid Squad, and as part of the new directive, Legacy Treatment Services of Burlington County, as we prepared for a potential long and drawn-out process. Detective Corporal Jeff Engel and Sergeant Scott Pacheco were able to establish communication with the suspect and began negotiations as he waited for the crisis negotiators to arrive. Due to their extraordinary skill set and ability to speak with folks, they were able to de-escalate the situation and convince the subject to surrender to police. The suspect was already wanted on previous charges out of Maple Shade for terroristic threats, threatening to burn the apartment down, as well as being a wanted person out of the state of New York. In this case, the suspect was charged with domestic violence strangulation, assault, criminal restraint, criminal trespassing, and lodged in the county jail. I want to commend Detective Corporal Jeff Engel, Sergeant Scott Pacheco, and Lieutenant Brian Davis, who's our operations lieutenant, but also our OEM coordinator, for their outstanding efforts in this matter and for bringing quick resolution to a volatile situation. Everyone on scene commented on the professionalism of our team and remarked how well they did in such a stressful and uncertain situation. Second incident, less than 2 weeks later. On Sunday, April 27th in the evening hours, officers were dispatched to the 700 block of North Fork Landing Road for a second-floor apartment with smoke billowing out. Upon arrival, officers were directed to the second-floor unit by the owners who lived on the first floor, and they knocked loudly on the door. There was no answer. Officers forcibly entered the apartment via the front door utilizing an entry tool, only to discover that the resident had stacked furniture and other items in front of the door to slow or impede their response. Upon finally making their way in, officers observed the resident retreat further into the apartment towards a bedroom area in the rear. The apartment was on fire. When the resident finally turned around, the officers closing the distance on him then realized he was armed with a large knife. Officers were able to disarm the subject and take him into custody. Our investigation revealed the subject purposely set the unit on fire and was trying to prevent officers from entering the unit to put it out. He was subsequently charged with aggravated arson, aggravated assault, and weapons offenses eventually lodged in the county jail. I want to commend Corporal Mike Mastrangelo, Officer Marshall, Wortman, King, O'Connor, Klassen, Detective Alvarez, Officer Buckley and Sergeant Scott Sopranowicz for their quick action to prevent the home from burning down and for taking an armed subject into custody without resorting to deadly or significant force. The next incident, I'm going to just talk about the football carnival. On Saturday, May 3rd, around 7 p.m., calls started to come into the PD in reference to a large group of kids in the area to Wawa on North Fork Landing Road causing problems on location, which included various forms of shoplifting, theft, and criminal mischief. The shift immediately believed this was going to be linked to the carnival at Aces Field and began to split up the responding units to cover both locations. After dispersing the group at Wawa and positioning an officer there, the group began milling around the area of the carnival, estimated at this time to be 50 to 60 teenagers and young adults. Despite other calls coming in during a duty shift, officers attempted to maintain a presence at both Wawa and Aces Field for the next 2 to 2.5 hours. The patrol units were able to quell the disturbances as darkness fell and more teenagers and young adults were observed milling around the location. During this time, additional personnel were brought in, and the sergeant on duty requested additional units on location from surrounding towns as well. We call that mutual aid. Despite a warm weather evening where most folks were in shorts and t-shirts, officers began to notice individuals on scene in long sleeve hooded sweatshirts with their hoods up, long pants, full face or head masks known as balaclavas, and many youths were wearing surgical face masks, which was completely inconsistent with the weather that evening. To be clear, this is not a cultural generational issue, but one in which these individuals are trying to purposely obscure their identity in order to intimidate or commit crime in our community, which was proven factually correct on this night. It's important to note that if this was pre-COVID and you walked into a bank with a hood up or a mask on, they would immediately be calling 911 in anticipation of a bank robbery. Now, seeing all this, the sergeants positioned officers strategically along Broadway in an effort to disperse this group before anything happened. With numerous officers present and ready to respond, a subject fully covered head to toe walked over to another subject in a surgical mask and began fighting as the crowd surged in that direction. Officers rushed in, and that forced the crowd to begin to scatter in opposite directions. An all-call was made to Central Communications by our patrol officers, requesting them to have duty units respond from both Burlington and Camden County, which they did do. And as additional units began to arrive in an effort to break up the fights taking place now in the area of North Poplar and Front and disperse the youth gathered there, some of the individuals were also squaring up against officers attempting to fight them or attempting to help others escape from police contact. At this point, the large groups had toggled back and forth over the railroad tracks down towards Wawa, where Camden County units had took up a position to prevent them from entering the Wawa again, which did shut down for a period of time. One officer specifically told me that too many of these individuals had their phone outs recording instead of heeding the orders being given by the police in real time. They did not care to listen to direction and simply you cannot arrest everyone at the scene in order to get out of this situation. Eventually, and with numerous police units on location, they were dispersed and several juveniles were taken into custody, none of which lived in Mapleshade. Through our investigation, we have so far identified individuals from Burlington and Camden counties. They were likely dropped off here, which is why they could not leave right away, because they could be living as far away as 45 to 50 minutes. In similar incidents that happened like this in Pennsauken, Collingswood, and Gloucester Township, this was also noted to be an incident and a problem, where the youth are being transported here and left here, and then when an incident happens, they can't get home. Currently, we are conducting video analysis to identify those individuals involved, and we will charge everyone who we can possibly can in relation to this incident. As you've heard me say before, there will be accountability and consequences in Mapleshade. Make no mistake, many of these individuals came here specifically to engage in criminal activity, and it's 100% unacceptable. From what we can tell at this point, the original fight may have been related to a situation that took place in Camden County earlier that evening, and somehow Mapleshade became the new destination. To be clear, we received no intel from the Regional Operations Intelligence Center, the State Police, the Prosecutor's Office, from our school resource officers around the county, or even our own internal team who do track social media, which leads us to believe the communication loop was likely closed and could have been conducted over encrypted or messaging apps which law enforcement is unable to view. I want to extend my sincere thanks to the men who were working as volunteers at the football carnival, who were standing with our officers attempting to de-escalate and disperse the individuals from the area. Their support and bravery was much appreciated. Thankfully, no officers were injured, and as we saw just yesterday in Philadelphia, breaking up a similar situation, an officer was shot in the stomach below his body armor. I want to remind everyone that this carnival is geared towards younger children and families. It is not an event geared towards high school age kids and young adults, and is used to help football fund their activities for the kids in our Maple Shade community. They did nothing wrong, and I just want to be clear about that. Lastly, and with the fireworks fast approaching, I have already secured additional personnel from both Burlington County Sheriff's Department and St. Vincent PD, similar to what I did last year. We will have a heavy presence on the fireworks grounds as we did last year, and there will be no room for this type of activity taking place there. I would also recommend that council considers to start banning backpacks and balaclavas from any future access controlled events. It's one thing if you have something out on an open street that stretches, it's another if we're bringing people into a fenced off area where we can control the access points. I fully understand that surgical masks can be a little trickier to address this issue, but they are no doubt being used by some to obscure their identity to commit crime and not for any legitimate COVID or respiratory related concerns. The last thing I'll just talk about is our Bring Your Kid to Work Day, which was on Thursday, April 24th. We hosted about 30 children at the station. It went extraordinarily well. We had a bunch of events that were planned for the kids all throughout the day. I think one of the highlights was making tie-dyed shirts where we had the older kids pair up with the littlest kids. It was nice to kind of form that family bond. We did provide breakfast, lunch, and ice cream at the end of the day for all, and the kids said it was the best one that they had yet. And that is my report.
Awesome. Thank you.
Chief, if I could just ask, the ordinance that you're talking, is that the one that we've spoken about before, the one that I believe it was Ocean City or one of the southern shore towns had done?
So Ocean City does two things. I vacation there every year, but they will ban backpacks at 8 o'clock on the boardwalk. They also close the entrances to the beach, and that is done within the proximity of the main busiest areas of the boardwalk. And then they have special law enforcement officer 1 and 2s that are addressing people. As soon as 8 o'clock hits, you'll see them move over, close the beach, and they do that. The balaclavas, if you're not familiar with them, it's like the ninja mask, okay? You're pulling it over. You know, people want to attribute it to this or that. The reality is you're coming here to commit crime, and you're wearing that doing it. It's to obscure your identity.
So basically, the recommendation then is for these events that we have, the carnival, I guess, and the fireworks that we have, anything that we can control, that's what we're looking, we would be able to put an ordinance in for that.
That's the recommendation from my command staff. We've talked about this extensively. I know you and I talked about it last year. For the folks who weren't familiar, like we've responded to Pennsauken when that was all happening, and it was in the beginning. We got to see the whole thing unfold. And we have guys who are specially trained on the civil disturbance team within the county. The management and dynamics of crowds can be very precarious, and trying to understand and interpret what's happening is important. A lot of times you'll see Philly, you know, they're going to just try to control and contain, disperse, and then they're going back to do their investigation. We're applying the same philosophy here because there's only so much that you can do in the moment. So my recommendation going forward for council is to consider, at least for the access control type situations, number one, security for next year to try to prevent something like this from happening. But obviously, you know, banning backpacks, banning balaclavas, you know, the surgical masks is honestly a tough discussion because somebody can come up and say they have a respiratory issue and that's why they're wearing it. But, you know, it's just ironic that the individuals who are wearing it here that night were doing it purposely to obscure their face. I don't think there was a respiratory issue when they're trying to fight people. So
Council, we have enough meetings if it's something that you want to consider. We have, you know, another meeting in May and then our first meeting in June.
We should absolutely consider
We
it.
could consider putting something together. I mean, even if we had to push the adoption to the second meeting in June, we'd still be before the 28th event. Is that something that you would consider? And we'll just use it for now. We'll start it with these access events. Maybe we name what we can. If you're for that, then I think that we should
Absolutely,
direct
because we already discussed
our
this last year.
solicitor
I would definitely be in favor of that, yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a motion that we get our solicitor to work with the PD to put an ordinance together so that we can get it done.
I agree. I think let's work on something like that, at least, even if we just do it for this one event. And then if we see that we have to tweak it a little bit, you know, I think, again, we spoke about it last year, but now that it's here, Maple Shade, and we did a great job last year at the fireworks. I know, you know, that was something that you and I spoke about for days before, you know, the concern, I think, but, you know.
Yeah, Lieutenant O'Brien did a great job on the messaging from our point outward. And, you know, trying to just restrict the flow of the advertisement on the other side of the equation is a big part of it as well.
Yeah.
I think we were the only game in town that particular night, which is
We were.
why it landed here.
Yeah.
Could have landed anywhere, but it landed here. And
It's always
thankfully-
easier to do it a second time around, too, so that's the
Yes,
other thing. So I think,
absolutely.
I agree.
So we can make some operational adjustments to the fireworks with maybe some additional snow fencing just to get us some access control points that we can staff. And then signage in addition to that, that lets everybody know. And then the messaging going out, you know, if this is approved and we move forward, then we can at least say, you know, if you want to come in, go drop your backpack. If not, you're not allowed in.
Right.
You know, find another event.
Yeah. And at
But-
worst case, if we can't get the ordinance completed, then at least at minimum a resolution that says that these events this year, you know, from here until December 31st are going to be, that's what we're going to do, if we have to do more research on it. I mean, that's the
We're
only-
not looking to stop mom who's coming in with the diaper bag,
Nope.
right? Or we have grandma, we're pushing a wheelchair and she might have an oxygen bag, or we're not doing anything like that. We're
Right.
just talking about primarily looking at the youth and young adults who are coming in. Inside that backpack is probably things that are going to be problematic for us. And we want to just keep the public safe.
Yeah.
And these are the things that we've learned over the years.
And let's get your department to start working, and then this way we can get at least something on the books.
So there's a motion. Does anyone
second.
second it? You second it?
I don't
Yeah, we
think
do.
we can,
Yeah,
I don't think we can do a motion.
You don't even need a motion.
Can't do a
It's-
motion.
You're
You just-
authorizing
you
them
just
to
move
so
forward
vacate,
with
but
it.
everybody agrees to do it.
All right, thank you. Moving over to site plan.
So the site plan was busy this week. There was seven applicants. The first one was Kings Highway. The U-Haul owners came back in again. That's kind of an ongoing thing for development. But they brought back some of the recommendations from the last meeting with us, and there was some more, and we recommended they come back one more time to make sure they have everything in order before they would go to the zoning board. The next one was Parks Crossing Apartments. They came in with a concept about putting units in, more apartments, and knocking down the fire building. And the board kind of looked at it and, basically told them that what they're proposing isn't going to fly in town. So I don't know if they're going to go back and, redo it, modify it. We'll see how that one goes. The next one was on Windsor Avenue. The applicant wanted to put a roof structure up over his concrete pad in the front of the house. So he presented all his information, and we recommended that he moved on to the zoning board for approval. The next one was the old car wash down on Route 38. The owners of that now want to open it up and add a few things to it, a few amenities for the people. So again, it was suggested they modify their plans, come back one more time before the site board before they would move on. 220 West Main was for a gem store in downtown business, but they didn't show up, so we don't know what the story was with them. 215 West Woodlawn was a bulk application to build a garage in an existing spot where the garage was. So the board heard and looked at all the paperwork for them, and it was suggested for them to move on to the zoning board for approval with that one. And the last one was down at Brew Little's. There was an applicant that wanted to put a hot dog store in there, I guess kind of like a Maui's down in Wildwood. So there was a lot of things that we went over with her. There's some legalities that may be involved in it, and she was going to check them out before she moved forward with anything, because it might not be possible with that. The next meeting for site is going to be on June 5th at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, thank you. Maple Shade Green Team Sustainable, we don't meet until next Tuesday, so I don't have anything. So moving over to new business, water and sewer fees.
So,
Well, I have a question under old business.
No, sorry.
Sorry. Did the appraisal come back yet for the nursing home?
so I reached out to the appraiser yesterday and asked where the report was, and I have not heard back from him. I did give him an email.
I saw your email saying that you reached out
Yeah,
to him
I did
prior.
not hear back from him.
So they haven't been back, they haven't reached back yet, too.
You have a comment on that, Susan, on why, are they still responsible for cutting their grass?
Yep.
Okay,
So,
because it's not been
Yeah.
cut in a while. Okay.
All right, new business, water and sewer fees.
So if you recall, we've had a brief conversation about our utilities and specifically water and sewer fees and those that get billed and do not get billed. Currently, we have tax exempt properties that just pay the minimums, the basic minimums, and then we have some tax exempt properties that pay only minimums and no excess, so if they're using anything over. And that would be basically our nonprofits and our churches that do that. One of the other conversations that we had was the school district, and the school district also does not pay for water and sewer utility fees. So I had asked the tax and utility department to put together something, and basically we based it on their meter size, which they have 3-inch meters and 2-inch, 1 4-inch meter, and they're based on 5,000 gallon minimums, and is what we would be looking at. The total consumption in 2024 for all of the schools was just under 6 million gallons at 5,948,900 gallons. If we were to collect a minimum from them based on 5,000 gallons of sewer and 5,000 gallons of water, we're looking at about $16,600 a quarter in fees. We wouldn't charge them any excess. It would obviously help our utility department. Now, I do understand that there are, things that go along with that. Right now, the school doesn't charge us for facility usage fees. There are other agreements that we have, when their staff is there and the township needs them. Those things are reciprocated. So that has been, but there is certainly a deficit in the utility department, and that's why I'm bringing this up. And I'm not suggesting that we, charge for actual usage. There is a question that I have into the tax office because Yoakum School is showing that they use over 3.5 million. They used over 3.5 million gallons in consumption in 2024, and in 2023 they were just under 3 million. Something's not right there. That it's less than the high school. So we are looking at that. That there's a possibility that there could be a leak there that maybe no one is aware of. And if that's the case, then it could drastically reduce the gallons that they are using. But it is something that I believe the council should consider, is some sort of payment towards our water and sewer. Again, it's a user-based utility. So
Other townships, I'm aware, they do charge their schools that minimum.
they do.
charge.
So I reached out to the Municipal Managers Association and specifically asked the question of what towns charged all of their nonprofits, how they charge them, and their school districts. And I received close to 70 responses across the state that all said that they charge. There were only 2 that said that they don't.
They charge the minimum or they charge full?
They charge minimum. They charge a minimum flat rate is what they do.
So in charging the school, it's not getting us anywhere. It's just moving money around, because if the school's budget goes up, then the taxes go up for their side of it. So the schools and the churches are a part of our community, and this is my opinion only, but it's for everyone to use, and anybody is able to use that. The schools are just a part of doing business in my mind. But if we go charging the schools for water and sewer, which is technically, in my opinion, the responsibility of the township to maintain those things for our kids to be educated, then we're just charging the money to them. They're charging the money to the taxpayers. We're not getting any more money. We're still, the taxes are still going up one way or another. And for me, that school is our responsibility, and the water that they use in the school, it's just a part of us doing business. You live in a house, you pay taxes, your kid goes there, you know, that's just moving money around. That's just senseless to me at this point in time. We're not gaining any revenue when we're making them pay it on the back end. So that's ridiculous to me that we would even contemplate doing it, but that's my opinion.
Are the schools being metered right now?
They are metered, yes.
Okay.
Yes, they are metered. That's how we knew when we looked at Yoakum School, and it was like, how did they use that much, and the high school did not.
And that might sound like a large number, but if you look at the number of all the houses and all the water use, it's probably proportionally
Yeah, so the high school...
proportionally fine.
So just to let you know, the high school used 869,600 gallons between the high school and the Board of Ed. Steinhauer School used 966,300 gallons in 2024, and then Maud Wilkins used 548,200 gallons.
The sizes of schools are different, the amount of people is different, and Yoakum is all the little kids. They probably walk in, turn the faucet on, and walk out and leave it on. Maybe we put a faucet in that turns the water off and we save water. Or there is a problem underground.
Right, and that's why...
But this is common sense stuff to me. You know, it's educational.
Would also make the schools look into it a little further to make some changes so sustainably, that, you know, we could stop wasting water because, you know, not for nothing.
Wasn't that a part of the pilot program that you're working with, Heather, with the high school? Maybe they can educate the other schools and work on that.
Yeah, so I have spoken with, I spoke with Mike Blake today, and I did give to him my concerns about Yoakum School. So they're going to look into it too. I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention. It could just be an ongoing conversation. Maybe once we know what Yoakum School is doing and what's happening there, you know, we can. But I wanted to bring it to everybody's attention again. It is a user-based. You know, it's being used. It does affect our bottom line here. I understand Councilman Simonsek's point that it's just moving money around. But again, it does affect our budget here and our ability to, you know, maintain our utility
The
infrastructure.
taxpayers are paying for it one way or another. If we're eating that money and we have to raise the taxes, then we're raising the taxes. If the school district gets charged the money, they have to raise the taxes. So somebody's paying for it, and it's the taxpayers. So why are we moving the money around? It just creates more work for us, and it's been that way since the schools have been put in. And again, that's my opinion, but I think common sense-wise, it tells us we need to make sure Johnny doesn't flush the toilet 10 times when he goes into the bathroom.
Done? Okay. I thought you were saying something.
I just want to point out that I do agree with Mr. Simonsik on that, but just point of, you know, the schools charge some of the local organizations to use their facilities.
All right, well, then maybe we go to the schools and say, listen,
I'm just pointing that out to you, Mr. Simonsik.
it's a conversation with the school district then. Let's get them in here.
But that's what I'm
We all
saying.
have to work together for a
But that-
common cause.
Exactly, is what I'm trying to say, is we all work together, monitoring the water and working together as a team.
And just for the record, the school district, we own that too. The township owns the schools in the district. No matter what anyone says, the taxes are paid for it. They might think they own the schools, but the
do.
taxpayers own the schools.
So, I'm gonna say that's a disagreement there,
Well,
but okay.
the state's got a lot to say, and that's a
Yeah.
whole nother issue.
Right.
But the
So-
schools are still maintained and taken care of by our taxes.
It's just accountability is what I
Yes,
think
I
Susan's
agree.
trying to get to the point of. Okay.
All right, so
Yes,
the
that's all I have to say.
the next thing under new business would be public, what happened in public with the officer appointments.
Yes.
Anybody have comments,
I have a question.
questions?
I agree with Chief Simonsik that things need to be done sooner rather than later, but he asked a question that I don't think we have the ability to appoint. Susan and Ellen, do we have that ability? I mean, legally, to speed up this process? It's an appointment process, am I correct?
It's an appointment process, and I'm just asking for the opportunity to sit down with the recommended.
But my question
candidate.
is I don't know that we can do that.
It is, under the current ordinance, it is the township manager's appointment, and then I bring
Right.
it, just as I did with the fire chief tonight, then I would bring it to you in a resolution, and it would get approved under the consent agenda.
Can this be expedited to the week? Like within the week?
If I could,
depends on who.
similarly like what I did with Chief Simonsek, sat down with him, spoke with him, we discussed everything, and I appointed him as of May 1st, and then, or May 2nd, and then he started. So that would be similar to this process.
Can I ask the chief to come back up, please?
That's council's decision. Yep. Sure.
Yeah. Chief, I agree with you to 100% that you need the staff sooner rather than later.
Yes.
But my question, which I think I got the answer, is I don't know that council has that ability to appoint your staff. But hear me out.
Yeah.
If Susan can begin these interviewing processes tomorrow, Monday, within a week, is that satisfactory? If we can have these positions filled within a week?
Yes, I agree with that. The main point of it was that I gave a recommendation that, it happened that way. I understand that she wanted to have an interview process and open it up for anyone to
Correct.
apply for.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I did the legwork within the firehouse already, spoke with everyone that is eligible to do those positions.
Right.
And only one of each position said yes to it. So
Okay.
the interview process to me was a moot point, not only a moot point, but it was just a waste of time. It was going to go nowhere because the same people that I had already spoken to were going to apply, and then we were going to drag it out, and I didn't want it to be drug out longer and longer. The interview process to me was pointless because it hasn't happened anyways. So my thing coming here tonight to speak with you guys is to urge the fact of appointment. Just have her appoint these positions, and whether the resolution is done or not, like me, I was appointed a week ago. The resolution was tonight. I've been acting chief since a week ago, but my resolution was tonight. The resolution doesn't have to be before the appointment.
Well, we all agreed to that.
Right, but
We all agreed to that.
So then, that's all. The only reason I came here was to get the council's blessing that the interview process does not need to happen, that the appointments can be made and the resolution be passed at a later date and move this process along fast, right? That's the only reason I came here. I was tired of going back and forth with email, and it seemed like it was getting nowhere, and my point wasn't being, given. It wasn't coming across.
my point in my questioning here is, if the applicants can meet with Susan Friday, Monday, Tuesday, the appointment can be made at the next meeting, we can approve the resolution.
Absolutely.
And you're okay with that?
Yes. I
Okay.
just didn't want an interview process to drag out, because in the letter that was sent to me to be posted for the job, the date of May 30th was the end date for that, which means it could technically drag out to that date. Yes, I understand that someone could be hired sooner. That was the latest possible point. But to me, May 30th was too late. It wasn't soon enough.
I agree.
It needed to be
it's
done
too late,
sooner
but
than that. And that's all I wanted from Susan, was to push that date up. I recommended Friday the 16th to move that date to. I had said that in the emails. It's in the packet you have,
So
to
that-
move it up to the 16th for the interview process to stop.
And
I was
believe-
fine with that.
And I believe I did state this afternoon that I would meet with someone early next week, and that date is that's when the credentials would have to be in by. That if we
Yes.
wanted to appoint before
But-
then, that we
but-
certainly would appoint, but that the earliest resolution date would have been the next
But
meeting.
in my opinion, May 30th was the farthest point out. So it could have drug out till May 30th is my point. There was
Okay.
no guarantee that would happen next week. It was the date of May 30th was the signed date on that posting. And I didn't want it to be May 30th
Okay.
and for us to drag out for a month. That was my point, and that date was non-negotiable to change when I offered it for the 16th.
So, counsel, I am saying, and I am stating here on the record, that I am willing to meet early next week with the candidate that Chief Simonsek is saying. I cannot meet tomorrow. As you know, I had a death in my family, and tomorrow the services. I will be willing to work Monday, Tuesday. I know that it has to go around the candidate's information, but as promised in my email earlier this afternoon, I will meet early next week with the
And
candidate.
again, in this pamphlet that I gave you, I did agree to the interview process originally, as long as that date of the 30th was
Okay.
moved up to the 16th. But there was no negotiation in that date for it to be moved up, and that's why I came here tonight, and I had an issue with the interview process at that point, because it hasn't been followed that way since. So
question.
all of these points needed to be brought to your attention for this to move through,
and I
apparently.
appreciate that.
You stated that you met with a few people and
Yes.
they didn't want to, how many?
There was 3 for the deputy chief's position and 2 for the captain's position, a mix of IFC original guys that were there, as well as new guys that came in from outside departments that had the credentials to do it. There's a lot of young guys in that department right now that were hired, and none of them have the actual credentials to be officers, unfortunately.
Okay.
So it's very slim pickings when it comes to that officer line.
Okay. And do you plan on posting what you're supposed to post tomorrow?
I do not want to post it for that date of May 30th, to be honest with you, because I do not feel it's right to drag it on for that long. If that date is changed to the 16th, I will post it, but it seems like we just got around the whole interview issue altogether, and that doesn't need to be posted. That if the recommendation that I gave Ms. Danson is sent up here next week, that it seems like as long as she has that meeting, an interview and a resume is not needed, and that we can move forward with it.
I think we should give Ms. Danson the courtesy of meeting these people
Yes.
before the appointment is, and if you're okay with that, I think the date can be moved up.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm just
Well,
speaking as,
I'm saying is the
one
posted
council
for the
person.
job position itself. The posting that she sent to me to be set up in the firehouse and sent out to the members. If we can avoid that altogether and I send up the recommendation that I had for her to meet with, if it doesn't go well, then put the posting up. But I mean, I don't see it not going well, and there's no other viable options within the fire department that want to do it.
We also need to
So-
remember that this could eventually be a civil service
It's a
position.
volunteer position as of right now, though.
You're correct. But if it does change at some point to a civil service position, I will need to prove to civil service that we did some sort of formal posting. So if council chooses, if
It has
council,
to be a formal
I
posting.
have to have a formal posting. If council wishes for me to change the date to May 16th, I will honor those wishes and I will change it. That is 1 week. I just want to be very clear that that is 1 week from tomorrow.
Just as a question,
So I have never posted anything for 1 week. May 30th, again, is the end of the month. It's quicker. It's usually, if I were to post this on, and I'm just hypothetically speaking, if I were to post this on the League of Municipalities, it stays up for 33 days.
We're
So-
not
I'm not-
talking about the league. Can I ask a few questions before we go any further?
Real quick, I just had one question for Ms. Danson. Where, I might not have seen it, but was there a posting for the chief's position that I did not see? Because Dan never posted anything in the firehouse for us to see.
There was not. That was a discussion that was had between council members and I at,
Okay.
correct.
Okay, so you see what I'm
Because-
saying here? So
and
there's
hold on,
options
hold on.
outside of that.
Can I please
though.
finish? It was between council and I, and then it went to Labor Council. And with my discussion with Labor Council recommended, because the appointment came from the judge, that that appointment should be made that way, directly to the next qualifying officer.
Okay.
So,
That was a little
I just-
hairy because of the judge appointment.
Well,
That's why
I
we had
get
to make
that,
sure.
but I'm
And
just
we also
saying,
have
there's been options
other issues.
every which way.
And-
There's
and
not
that was-
just, there's not a definite
Yeah.
line with
No, I
anything.
get what you're saying.
And there's options all the way around to make this move
there's
faster and
definitely
smoother.
options.
And we're just looking for future procedures and just how we're going to go forward with this.
I understand that,
So
but
we
we're in
want
a
to
very
keep
sticky
that
situation
in
with our
line as
department
well.
right now.
We do have to consider
And is-
Labor Council.
Right,
I
is
mean,
May,
you know, has to be.
Susan, is May 30th an expiration date?
that was just that was the end date, that we would accept credentials for that position
Right,
up
but we
until
could
May
have
30th.
I'm sure there's some kind of,
As I had stated to Chief Simon Sek, that if we found a candidate prior to that, the appointment could be made prior to that end date.
So what I'm hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, that you spoke with everyone, the mix, and there's really just the two people that you're recommending. Are they former?
They have officer experience formerly in
Right.
our department as well as other
So the
departments in the county.
credentials, if I'm thinking who they are, these people have been in the organization for
No,
40-plus years and 15 years.
have that courtesy.
So the credentials are there.
Everything for these two individuals is completely solidified for them to operate
Right.
as the deputy chief and captain within our fire department. There's no ifs, ands, or buts whether they are qualified through the state of New Jersey to do these job positions. No. There's no question about that. They are absolutely qualified.
And right now, there's 2 officers for the span of control for everything up there.
Correct.
So that's way under what we need.
I'm operating at a fire scene by myself for the
All
most
right,
part.
so-
Yes.
Okay.
It's an unsafe environment for all firefighters within our town, to be honest with you. If a structure fire went out tonight, yes, there will be outside chiefs coming, but we have no inner command within this town right now. Lieutenant Miller is not a command structure. He's an interior command, or an interior operations guy. He does not run command as a lieutenant. So I am by myself 100%.
so the people that you're asking to apply or you want to appoint, they're not helping at all? Because they're currently firefighters.
I would never put them in a situation like that to put them in a leadership role when they're not appointed. That is a mess of legal trouble that you could run into with the state if you were operating as something that you are not in the fire service. So no, I would never recommend them to do that.
I'm sorry, I thought you said there was 4 people that were qualified that you were recommending?
Qualified people, yes. When I sat down with them, because of family matters or personal reasons, they were not willing to accept an officer
Oh, okay,
position right
all
now.
right, all right. So you
Yeah.
said
I've
two
sat down
people
with
accepted.
multiple people. Two people accepted
Okay, all right.
individual roles.
I
So,
misunderstood
yeah,
what you said.
One accepted each individual role.
Right, I misunderstood what you said.
Yeah.
At one point, I thought you said there was four, but
Four
four
total that
qualified,
I have talked to
but
overall.
Two did not accept,
Correct, yeah.
they would not apply for the role.
Yeah. If it was offered, they would not apply, yes.
So and I'm speaking as an individual, I would just recommend or like you to give Ms. Danson the courtesy of the interview. I mean, I think we owe her that, because since she's the one that's going to appoint the person, we can expedite this very quickly.
That's
I think
fine.
that was already agreed upon. The only thing
Okay.
that's up in the air is the fact that whether he's posting the position or not.
If it's going to be an interview process and we post it just to post it for other reasons, fine, I'm fine with that, as long as we can agree tonight that in the beginning of next week, that is done at whatever their convenient schedules are. It may be nighttime, it may be, I don't know what their schedules are as of right now, but if we can do that and appoint them as of next week, I'm perfectly fine with posting that this evening in the firehouse and dispersing it to the membership. But I don't want to lock ourselves into something where we're going to drag this out for a month, unfortunately.
I
Can't
agree
do
with you
that.
100%. We shouldn't drag it out. We should make the appointments as soon as possible.
Yes, and I understand
But
Ms. Danson
I
has
think
family
it should be
matters tomorrow.
posted.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree that I will post it, but I just want clarification that this process will not drag on and will move along.
Yep.
That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
At the next meeting, also, I'm going to have a statement of the fire departments and the history of things to protect this township.
Okay. So anything else under new business?
Yes, I have several things. When we ran, we discussed a lot of things, but tonight I'm bringing up the ordinance of that if you're going to be a township manager, that you have to reside in town and change the ordinance back to what it was. I'm bringing it up tonight, and at the next meeting, I'm going to be making a motion about it. The other one is the clerk appointment by the township council and not the township manager. So just for clarifications, the role of council is to make sure that the township manager does their job. The role of clerk is basically our secretary. And to me, that the township manager has a secretary, plain and simple, but the clerk was always appointed by the township council. And for me, I would rather appoint a township clerk working with us, because that person is supposed to take the notes and work with us and make sure that everything is getting done. And to me, there's a conflict of loyalty when you get right down to it. So I'm going to make a motion that we make the ordinance and go back to that. And I'm also bringing up the rec board tonight. The rec board is something that we need. We have a recreational director, and God knows what she even does. I think we need to get her in here and have her tell us what she's done for the year so far. She doesn't apparently work with the sports organizations, and I just feel if we're going to be paying this money for something like that, that she needs to get involved, and we need to get our money's worth out of her position. And lastly, there was some emails going back and forth, and I'm going to make some clarifications now in regards to the ordinance and the question that I asked at the last meeting. The question was posed, who did the ordinances? And the statement by the township manager was that Ellen did all of them. Well, come to find out, Ellen did not do all of them. And there was an email saying here, and the township manager said that she only had done one, not all of them. And it was before the time that she was appointed. So the question that I originally asked has still not been answered. Who did the ordinances? Was it you? Was it Terry? Was it another lawyer? It's a simple question. I want to know who did those other three ordinances.
The salary ordinance is a template that we have used here in the township. It was
Who
created-
reviewed them? Because
The
we didn't
former
have,
pre-
we did not have a solicitor at that time.
Well,
So,
what, you're talking about the salary ordinance, it's 2025-01, 2025-04, both predate Ms. McDowell. Number 2025-03 was drafted in its entirety by Ms. McDowell, and then 2025-02 was an amended ordinance that was written by our previous township councilor.
so why didn't you say that when I asked it? Because your statement was that she did them all. And then you blast me in an email saying that, no, she didn't do them all, and then gave me an explanation. So that question's answered then. So there was some misdirection on your part, as far as I'm concerned. And again, this is my opinion. I don't know what the other council members feel about that. And the other thing, too, is, I'm going to say this, and I don't mean anything against the other towns. You know, you keep saying that it's a standard practice and this and that. I don't really care about what other towns do. I care about what this town does, and my job is to make sure that it's protected, the liability issues, and unfortunately, that job means that I question you, and I get answers. That's my job. That's what I was elected by the people to do. So the inference that you just do it because it's just general business is all fine maybe to you and other townships, but it's not to me in this township. There's a liability issue. She is our solicitor. She is a lawyer, all right? And no one else in this building is. We hired her for a reason, and I believe there's some things that the contract about doing those things that I can either read or you can read off about, you know, the duties. I want this township covered, and my personal opinion is we need the solicitor to be doing this work, and come to find out, I think this statement will clarify that in contracts.
That's the ordinance.
The attorney shall be the legal advisor to the council manager, department, and other municipal agencies. Except otherwise may be provided by the law chapters, he or she shall prosecute and defend actions, proceedings by and against the township department, officers, agencies thereof, and inference of these powers and without limitations of. Drafts or reviews and approvals as to form and sufficient all legal documents, contracts, deeds, bonds, ordinances, sustained resolutions made executive or adopted by or on behalf of the township is to be done by her. That is the ordinance. So your persistence in saying that you will do them, I just don't agree with it. Again, that's my opinion. I don't know what the other council members want to do, but that's my opinion. And turning to the next point that you're, accusing me of being in cahoots with our solicitor, just for the record, so that you know, that was originally his idea that I supported, not mine. So you're talking about me sending facts out that aren't proper, and you're doing the same thing that I'm doing at the end of the day. You're making assumptions, whatever. But all these things, when I read them and started diving into them, are just not factual. Now, the next thing is the bill for Merchantville overhead and door. So on this bill, it says Maple Shade Fire Department. And just for the history, those doors were purchased by Maple Shade Township. They've been maintained for the last 40 years, maybe longer that I know of. And every set of doors since I've been there have been bought, maintenance, and done by the township. All right? So I don't know, to me, it's just a game that you're just wanting, you're pushing it on IFC, independent. Independent has never paid for that. Dan Carr gets involved in it with the, blaming, that the paperwork wasn't taken up. The reason that Merchantville was called in the first place is because the doors wouldn't open. It was an emergency. It was under the threshold. And why they were there, because they were new doors, they were told to service them so that we didn't have the same problem with the other doors. This bill is due to Merchantville, and it's to be paid by the township, not IFC. And I know Ben sent an email, but Ben is just the president of IFC, and because of the breakdown and all the nonsense that's been going on with the fire department and township, that slipped through the cracks. It probably did. I'm not going to argue that point. But Dan making the decision that it's not getting paid in the email that I saw is not his call. And there's two simple solutions to this, and it's done all the time. You call up Merchantville head over door and you say, could you rebill that with this current date, and then the date's done. Or you can just pay the bill with a note on it so that if the state comes down here or whoever wants to look at it, it's a legitimate bill. It was incurred by this township and it needs to be paid. Because I'm telling you right now, if this bill doesn't get paid, I'm going to suggest to Merchantville overhead door for them to file a lawsuit to get their money. This money has been due to them for a long time. That was an emergency thing that needed to be done. I don't think the township would really appreciate us telling them that, hey, we can't get the fire truck out the door, so we're not coming to the call. This is all a charade and games. This bill needs to be paid. I don't care about the history of it. It says
it was a year old when it was presented.
Maple Shade Fire Department. It doesn't say Independent.
It was from October of 2023.
I don't care. I just gave you the two
October.
solutions. I
Okay.
just gave
Mr.
you the
Simon
two
said,
solutions
If
for
council
it.
wishes for me to pay the bill and you authorize the payment, then I will ask the finance department to pay it. As you are all aware, because you all got a copy of it, the bill was presented in October of 2024 from a charge from October of 2023. We immediately paid the August 24 bill, but there were apparently 7 past due notices that were sent to the IFCs at 53 South Maple that were never brought up to the Township of Maple Shade here to pay for the finance department. That is why I said to Dan Kerr when we spoke about it that we would not pay it, that it is an IFC response, and he got back to, at the time, President Callahan.
Listen, I'm not going
agreed.
to argue
So if
semantics.
council would like,
She let you talk, can you just hear
so
out
if
from
council
that?
would like
So we can make a
to,
decision?
if council would like to have the bill paid, I just need to have me authorize it to pay it, and I will ask finance department to pay it.
And while we're authorizing it, there's a bill again to the Maple Shade Fire Department, and all the documentation was here that they didn't pay. I think it was 42 or 43 cents that has still been owed to them because the check that was cut, and that information and everything on that was correct when it was sent up here. It's been going on probably
I don't know
for...
about the 43 cents, but.
So how much was the bill?
Well, it's...
$842, I think, is the one from October of '23, if I'm correct.
And this work was done, we know it was?
Well,
Somebody
It
was
was done in
there?
23.
I mean,
it was done in
something
'23.
was done.
I don't know, because it never came up here. We got it we got it back in September or October of '24 with the 7 late notices. It
Which
was
is
dropped off up here.
unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
Heather, you asked the question.
thank you.
That's the bill right there.
The other point being is that the NAPA account has interest charges, finance charges for month after month after month that kept making the bill go up. I mean, to me, I don't know why the bills aren't getting paid.
I
And
don't know
the amount that was in here, the current amount and the amount on the invoice and the request is all the right amount. But whoever wrote the check out of the township didn't put that money in there, and the bill keeps getting done or sent to Independent.
I don't know what you're talking about as far as the Napa bill.
Well,
So if you send that to me or send it over, I will
You
look
can
at it.
have this right here.
So I have 2 different bills here. One is for $858, and the $1954, is that the one we paid?
And I don't have anything.
It was on the email that I had sent. I'd have to see them again because I don't have it right in front of me. I don't have that.
My suggestion would be to call Merchantville overhead door and straighten it out with them and get the amount that's owed to them and get a check cut to them and get it sent to them.
Here's the net.
They won't, the other thing is to the safety strip. They're not going to come out and do work at the firehouse right now because they're owed the money and they want their money. There's a safety strip in that door that doesn't work. And any person that's walking down the street, whatever, we're going to be liable for that. The fireman could get hurt, God knows. But the safety strip needs to be fixed on it.
All right, so the Napa one looks like it was sent to Jessica in 2023.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have to. Yeah.
That's, you want to pass that along? Andrew, what's the one
And-
for 1954-47 that was due January 4th? Is that one not paid?
That might have been when the door wouldn't go up, you know.
Has that
And
been
I'm going to
paid?
be honest, I think that I was still the chief at that time. The door wouldn't work, there was no communication, and I just called him. I said, fix the door.
Has
The
that
door
been
won't go up.
Which
It's
one
an
is-
emergency expenditure. There's no going out the bid. It's under the threshold. It's just another way to push money
So
off
has
on
that one-
IFC.
Has that one not been paid, or has it been paid?
Honestly, I don't know, because they paid all the bills for the doors across the
I'm
street.
just trying to, you're bringing something up, and we're trying to make a decision, and I just need an answer.
So the.
My suggestion was for her to call Merchantville, get the cost, and go from there. Can you look at this and see do you remember what's owed?
No, I can explain the Napa bill at length, though, if you'd like me to.
The Napa bill's not really, that's not an
Those are
issue,
finance
because
charges.
that was
The
sent to
Napa-
finance, so
the
that should have
Napa
been
bill
paid.
is,
That was sent up a few months ago, whatever.
Yeah, that's fine. It's just this one for almost $2,000 that wasn't paid.
From 23.
This is from 2024, it says. That's why I'm asking, because it says December 24. The one from 23 is this one.
Okay.
That's,
And here's the,
that goes with
here's
that,
the
yes.
detail. Because Susan just said we paid one.
we paid one from August of
Do
'24.
you
We
know what
paid the
that was?
Merchantville.
The amount
door.
was?
I forget how much it was.
Yeah, that's the detail of that one.
Oh. I'm not sure.
So that's the bill
And
that's not paid.
To be honest with you, I don't know when these dates were, but what was the date? October of '23?
That's what, does that one say October?
There's a possibility that the IFC wasn't even in service at that point. I'm not sure what the dates of shutdown were, but there's Benjamin's name is on those sheets because he was the president of the IFC at that time.
Okay.
And when they send it out in the beginning of the year, they update the name on the account or whatever, whoever the latest president is. There's a possibility that Ben wasn't even the one that called those in. If we weren't in service, it would have been Joe, Dan, anyone from the township, the
Okay.
road department guys that were in there. I don't know. So I'm not sure what those dates were or when we were shut down, but it's a possibility that it wasn't even anyone from the IFC that called them to have that work done, which would explain why the stuff never got paid, I guess, because there was never a PO for it.
Okay, so we're not going to pay a bill that we have no idea about.
Right.
So,
I'm moving
Susan-
on from that one. This
Susan-
one was October of '23. I think it should be paid. If we did it, I get it, it's past due. It's $858.82. I don't know how everybody feels about that one. This one, I mean, they needed it fixed. We fixed it. How do you guys feel?
I'd pay the bill if we had it done, work done, yeah.
Do you want to see that one, Sandy, before you talk?
10/18.
Can this be put to bed?
Yeah, I mean,
Council authorizes it, yeah. Like I said, the
mean-
argument was is that there were 7, when we got that bill, there were 7 past due notices with it that were included with it when it came up here.
Can
That
you
was what-
negotiate with them the situation
We'll
at
call
hand?
Merchantville Door. We'll call Merchantville Door. Merchantville Door has done other work for us here in the
Can I-
municipality
can I
since,
hand that over?
so. We do have it, but I'll take this one as well.
Yes. Well, you call and negotiate
So-
with them.
Susan has these copies.
She can have them, it doesn't matter to me.
She said she has.
She has.
What else did you have, Andrew?
And lastly, for you to imply that I need to apologize to you when I'm doing my job and basically threaten me in an email saying that you're going to call the state on me, it's just, it's, to me, that's ridiculous. My job is to make sure you do your job. And again, if you don't like that, there's the door.
No.
But at the end of the day, Susan, I'm done playing games. Everybody might think that, this is all, peaches and cream up here, but I know different. I was put here by the people of this town, and I'm going to start doing what I said I was going to do. And at the end of the day, the council is responsible for running this town to give you the marching orders that we would like to have done. That's how it works. And all the things that you're saying in here, it's the other way around. Basically, you threatened me. That's the way I see it. And I'm not apologizing for doing my job. At the end of the day, I think you need to apologize to the people of this town for the things that you keep doing and the games you keep playing. That's my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. So I'm airing this out. I'm not going to take this abuse anymore. I'm not going to take emails like this. I'm not going to hear that I can't have something. You said at the last meeting that I can't see the reports for the building. Those buildings, everything in this town is public. I can come up here and get inspection reports from somebody that built a house 30 years ago. It's all public knowledge. And for you to tell me that I can't see something is like the president being elected and him being told he can't look at something. I'm done playing the games. Everybody's been put on notice.
Anything else? All right, resolution number 2025-R-102, which is a resolution to meet in executive session for the following matters relating to litigation, independent, I'm sorry, am I supposed to read this or you?
I'm supposed
Okay, go ahead.
to- We need to meet in executive session to discuss matters relating to litigation pertaining to IFC versus Neutral Shade and relating to the employment relationship with Township Solicitor, that being me.
Okay.
So before we go into session, I'm going to make a statement. I'm going in for the first part of it. But as a courtesy, I'm walking out for the fire department thing. But I'm putting it on record right now. There is no, absolutely no conflict of interest. None.
So we have a motion to close. Anybody?
So made.
I don't want to go into close. I haven't enough. This is, I've had enough. I will second
Is
it.
there a second?
All in favor?
Do we have a second?
Yeah, John second.